Are you ready for some smart, plain talk on politics, Israel, and the law? It's the Andrew Parker Show. Let's roll. Welcome to another episode of the Andrew Parker Show, and thank you once again for joining us as we talk politics, Israel, and the law every episode. Been doing it for, what are we going on? We're going on 9 years, and we're at about episode 430 so-and-so. It really is amazing, and I thank you all for allowing us to continue and for the increase in subscriptions, in followers. You can go to the andrewparkershow.com. That is the andrewparkershow.com. And as I say, subscribe, give us your email. Whenever we drop a new episode, you'll get it immediately. Follow us, like, and do all the other things you do on social media, whatever that might be. So this is a special show to me. This episode, as I go back in time to the early 90s, even the late 80s, when I started the practice of law. There was another gentleman who was starting into his career in media. And I had the opportunity to meet him a few times and haven't seen him for many, many years. But we have him as our guest on this episode to talk about, in part, the city of Minneapolis, as we have an election coming up a week. Well, from the time we're recording this episode, a week from tomorrow. And it's an important election, electing the mayor and all 13 council members, as well as the park board. But this is a special show also because we're going to talk about the media and a little bit about the change in the media. And we're honored to have as our special guest someone who's been in the news biz for well over 30 years. You remember him at KARE 11. If you're my age, a little younger, a little older, I think from about late 80s, certainly 89, 88 through 09, he was one of our favorite anchors. He was an investigative reporter, and he is a journalist par excellence. He has won many Emmy Awards. He won Best of Show in the New York International Film Fest as well. He just brings it to you as he sees it. And that's the way it should be. And that is our friend Rick Kupchella. Rick, thank you very much for joining us on the Andrew Parker Show.
Hey, I really appreciate it, Andrew. I do. Thanks for having me.
So, Rick, let's first talk about the media. I mean, you're a unique personality to the extent that you have survived year in, year out, decade in, decade out in a very turbulent environment, and that is one of journalism. It has changed so greatly over the years in which you came up in the business. You now are a senior in the business of sorts. What are your thoughts about the changes, the evolution of the media as we see it here in the States?
Yeah. Well, I remember one of my colleagues when I was leaving KARE, a guy named Ron Geiselhart. He ran the desk, the news desk, elevated platform in the middle of the room, and he was dispatching people all the time. And he was retiring right as I was exiting KARE back in 09. And he had this, it was back in 09, you really started to feel that things were slowing down. Money was harder to attain in the news business. Budgets were dropping substantially. and it was the rise of digital, right? And it was a lot. What I remember about Ron was at the assignment desk. He was standing up one day and he was talking to me about my exit and his retirement, and he's like, "Man, I tell you what, isn't it just something though what's happening right now?" His approach was radically different from mine. I was kind of like sorrowful about just kind of what was happening to news. And he's like, "No, no, no. This is about digital. This is about where this is going next." And he explained to me, I was in radio and then went into TV when it became a thing. When it got real big, and it was so
Right.
exciting. The stuff we could do was just nobody could believe it, and it was just very exciting. And that's what's going to happen now with this group out in front of you. They're going to go into a whole new space. They're going to figure it out in real time on daily deadlines. And my God, I wish I could go back and join right now, is what he was saying. That was a very optimistic and, sun is coming out kind of approach. Made me try to put mine in check a little bit. But, these things take time. It's not like, oh, we're in this room now. You got, it's, this still has not really figured out monetization. There are examples of real mastery. I look at what Axios is doing, today, and I think it's just remarkable. And those were the Politico guys, before that, and they've really been on the forefront of what this can be and where it can go. But it's a painful transition, and it is certainly nowhere near as well financed as it was, once upon a time.
What do you think? You mentioned Axios, which is interesting to me because I have found them to be, I thought they were like so many others. Well, you're going to take the right position or the left position.
Mhm.
And whichever one you take, that's the way you scrap together a little bit of money because you got some firebrands on both sides, and you can
Mhm.
figure out how to make money that way rather than doing your job, which is delivering the news. Uh, but Axios, I thought, they're coming out. They're going to be a left or organization, et cetera. And they're going to give a slant to all the stories in that direction. Uh, it really hasn't been the case, though. I think you're right about that. They may have a tendency, but that's about it. What about Barry Weiss? I mean, that whole story has been very interesting to me. Her leaving the New York Times, the way she left, the letter she wrote, the amazing coverage that letter got
Mhm.
across the country. I mean, it kind of was an inflection point in the media. Now she's what? She's going back to CBS News. She's going to be some bigwig over there and actually try to bring some legitimacy back.
It's that's hopeful, and we're in such an odd time, and the degree to which the what really gets into the politics of it all, which is, I think, super unfortunate. Today, when this comes out, everybody wants to know, okay, what is your angle, and it's always in a right versus left kind of way, not a
Right.
just dig for the truth on this stuff, right?
And we're going to
Nobody,
talk about
nobody
that
is.
with Rick. Believe me, Precarious State.
Mhm.
We're going to get into it deeply,
Mhm.
and the whole issue of, okay, where's this coming from? Because that'll tell me how I should view it rather than just viewing it for what it is.
Right, right. But the same kind of thing is happening in what you're talking about with Barry. They're just looking at, okay, what's
Yes.
going to happen, and trying to
Yes.
predict or analyze it before it's even really a thing. Um, and I think people are just kind of they fall into a too simple, too ready for this to be, A or B, and it's kind of disheartening a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I've got to believe it is for someone who, and in following your career and seeing where you've gone, what you've done. You created, what was it called? Bring Me the News, I think,
Mhm.
and have done so much in your career, but you've always been steadfast about the accuracy, about the truth of the matter, about the news in reporting, and trying to avoid angles. Uh, and that's kind of well, it is refreshing, no question about it. And there just aren't too many left who are doing that. Um, the reason I bring up Barry Weiss, Rick, is she is someone who I'm a bit more conservative, and this show is a some would say a bit more conservative as well. But Barry Weiss came from a strong liberal foundation. She checks several boxes in the liberal camp, and she is a liberal on many, many issues personally. Um, but she speaks with clarity and sanity, and just has can bring the message because of her background. Rick, let's turn our attention to the city of Minneapolis. I've been doing a few shows recently about the city, the crime rate, education falling, both in the city and across the state of Minnesota, which, as you know, when you were growing up and when you were in media here, we had one of the top education systems in the country. And it has just plummeted, particularly over the last 8 years. But education, crime, economic loss, people moving out of the state. It's a long time from the Time magazine cover with Wendy Anderson on it. And you decided to make a documentary called Precarious State. And by the way, you got to go get this documentary and watch it. I believe, what is it, precarioustate.org
Dot
and
com.
.com. All right.
Mhm.
And so you can get it with ease. You can also get it by going to the andrewparkershow.com, clicking on resources, and we've got it right there. We believe it is a very, very important documentary for anyone who cares about the city of Minneapolis to watch. And that really is where I saw this documentary coming from a place of caring. I mean, caring. We're a community here, and we have been one of the great communities and examples in the entire country for many, many decades, the city of Minneapolis. And that is just quite frankly changing.
It is. It really is. And it is. This came about out of just a honestly initially it was just my own curiosity. Okay, we there were it was Bring Me the News. I also partnered with another group called Go Kart Labs, and then that group launched another business that was the Big No, KNOW, and that was around an education platform for brands to educate. Could be employee groups, could be customer bases, but it was an educational platform. So we were in all these different kind of executions: straight up marketing, straight up news, online education, and we had a really good run from, like, I would say 2009 up through the businesses started selling between 16 and 20. And then I had to put one down in the middle of the pandemic, just because we had the first couple of years of the pandemic was great. In 2023, it just, the bottom fell out, and my clients were in recession planning, et cetera, et cetera, and I just had to close it. And I took some time off, and I went around the country to see friends and family. I've been working a lot.
Indeed.
And when I came back, it just hit me like a board. Sometimes you just need to leave the room
Yeah.
and you come back in and you're like, wait, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
and that's really how this started. And it was like, wait a minute, what I hear is from friends of mine, most of them are fairly educated, bright, folks in business. They care about these things, and I would just ask them, "Come on downtown. Let's go for a walk. I'll buy lunch. We'll just go for a walk around town. I want you to tell me what you see, right?"
Yeah.
And these smart people were talking to me about, Rick, this is going on everywhere right now. This is what post-pandemic malaise does to cities. This is 23,
Hmm.
and then it's this is what work from home does. This does not end very well. This is happening everywhere. This same thing is happening everywhere. I'd rib them, like, hey, you still travel, right? You you get
Yeah.
out. This is not like every place else, man. This is quite different. And we were dealing with a trifecta of trouble. Which, yeah, we had the pandemic like everybody else had the pandemic. We had George Floyd, which was fairly unique, but it was also that caused all kinds of the torching of the city, which is its own thing,
Yeah.
and it's how we respond to all of these things
Yeah.
becomes essentially the fourth. And you know, everybody's had the pandemic. We have these couple other things that came along that were super challenging, unfortunate timing, unfortunate reality, unfortunate timing, and but no ability to really build out of it in a real, it went right to what the thing is we need to do is defund police, right? Which is, you think, okay, how's this going to end? Where does this go? And it ultimately gets to, where the documentary gets to. We just ultimately try to, I told everybody up front, this is I'm looking at this through the eyes of business. If you believe, and not everybody does, I do, that our society is financed and driven by economic engines that are really intimately tied to business and business growth, and and in a host of different kind of manifestations. But that's the economic engine. And even when I was selling this concept early to community leaders, foundation people in particular, I got this, like, right away, step back, hey, not everybody thinks like that. Not everybody
Yeah.
thinks like that. And I'm looking at like, okay, well, where do you think the economic engine rests? And I never got a straight answer. But everything they said made me think that they believed it was really government. Um, and of course, my immediate question is, where do you think the government gets the money? I mean, let's just peel it back, right? Let's get, where's the core?
Right.
And we had just gotten to a place where the businesses, frankly, were not growing. One stat we did not put into the documentary, but is still meaningful. There's a lot of stuff jammed into that 60 minutes. But one was, it was a study done by the chamber, and it was done between 2021 and 2024. It could be 22 to 24. I don't have it in front of me, but it recently, and in this period of post-pandemic. And they were looking at business growth. And somebody said on this panel of people that were studying this, you know, we're just the businesses here in Minnesota just aren't growing. They're just not growing. And somebody pushed back. This was in the Minnesota Chamber. Somebody pushes back and says, well, actually, no, several of them here are growing. They're just not growing here. They're growing somewhere else. Okay. So that got them into a position of like, hey, let's add to this. Let's look at business growth, and let's measure to what degree do we see Minnesota businesses growing elsewhere versus businesses based elsewhere growing here. And a real interesting math. And what it said basically was that we were exporting, between in these 3-year period, we were exporting 50% more growth than we've been importing. Okay, 50%. We had exported 50% more jobs than we were importing associated with these expansions. Okay, but the real holy smokes was value. If you looked at, let's just not all expansions and growth opportunities are equal, right? And when you looked at the value of what we were exporting versus the value of what we were importing, it was like 180% off. We were exporting something on the order of $11 billion, and we were importing, I think it was 10 billion out, 4 billion in.
Mm-hmm.
Just not a sustainable play, right? You're just exporting so much more than you're importing as an economy. It doesn't help our state.
Literally. No, it clearly doesn't. It was recently published an analysis of percentage income loss by state, looking at the 50 states, each and every state, to look at the income loss over the past 3 years. And everyone has, with inflation, with the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, et cetera. So what you're trying to do is have as little income loss per capita as possible. Mm-hmm. And Minnesota ranks 8th from the bottom of the 50 states having the highest income loss. I mean, Mississippi is doing well better. Georgia, Louisiana, they're all doing well better than the great state of Minnesota.
Tell me the source on that one.
Well, let me find here. I've got it, I believe. The American Experiment put this out, and they say, well, I'll get that to you. I will get, wait. Source: the economic cost of the pandemic, state by state, Stanford Hoover Institute, published in 2023 by Eric Hanushek.
Yeah.
The Hoover Institute is a reputable source.
Yeah, it is a reputable source. It is. Yeah.
And now, a word from our sponsors. A record of success second to none. Parker Daniels Keyboard Law Firm, the numbers tell the story. The last 5 cases our lawyers have brought to trial have resulted in million and multi-million-dollar verdicts for our plaintiff clients and 0 defense verdicts for our defense clients. Put simply, we try cases and we win cases. Hi, I'm Andrew Parker. At Parker Daniels Keyboard, we take our work personally and we go the extra mile. That is why some of the biggest law firms, locally and nationally, send cases to us to handle when they can't. If you have a challenging and critically important business or personal legal dispute that must be favorably resolved, whether regarding a contract matter, a business divorce, a real estate dispute, an employment dispute, a civil rights or defamation matter, plain talk, if it's a big deal, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com. Looking to reduce your tax liability and grow your portfolio? Consider Texas-based Texacoma Resources. They have been delivering results for over 40 years in energy investments. Investors may benefit with strategic advantages like depreciation, depletion, and drilling, but should consult their tax advisors for their specific situation. Call True North Investment at 612 612-968-3442 to learn more. That's True North Investments, 612-968-3442. Texacoma Energy that works for you.
Yeah, and there's so many measures like this, Andy. There's so many that you can find, and that's one of the things that as we started peeling back,
Right.
These angles, it got deeper and deeper, and there was a lot of similarity across different metrics. Importation of exportation versus in growth
Sure.
versus looking at one of the big ones we were deep on was the Linneman report, the Linneman letter that goes out of Wharton, an endowed chair out of Wharton that put that group together, and it's really looking at a very simple metric that is payroll employment. Okay, let's just look at payroll employment as a measure of economic health, and it was to a market. It was the question to all these markets has been and continues to be, where are you today with payroll employment in your large metro market, which is defined, by each market, relative to where you were in that market in February of 2020. Where are you today relative to where you were then? And this is truly payroll employment. This is, most people work for, the company, and the company, pays them on a regular schedule. And it's that kind of payroll employment we're measuring. And in the Twin Cities, we're looking at the 12 county metro area.
Yep.
And I monitor this. I've been monitoring it quarterly. Really, these measures come out every month. We've been looking at them on a quarterly basis, and we've been all over the map, but we've always been net negative. We're net negative. Our answer is our cities, 12 county metro area, all the counties in Minnesota. We are minus, the latest data when we did the broadcast was minus 800 jobs. But I will tell you, that was the best showing we saw in 2 years of monitoring. We were largely in between minus 24,000 and minus 36,000. That's where we were. And it wasn't getting better. It's this. And we tend to do better in the summer quarter, which is the one we had, but that was still negative. And we're looking at, what's going to come out next. And it's a dire reading for us. It has put us most of the last year second only to San Francisco. On this list of the top 48 markets in the country. We have been 47th. San Francisco is 48th. We were tied for much of last year with Baltimore.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been putting these numbers together going back to the 80s in the Twin Cities, about the Twin Cities. And I've never, ever, ever seen us tied with Baltimore on any kind of economic measure. And, of all things, Baltimore's been doing a lot better lately, particularly as relates to crime. I think the first time they've been off the most crime-ridden cities, top 25 most crime-ridden cities. They're off of that list for the first time in the last couple of years here. Our crime story is his own.
You have the economic loss story as you talk about. The crime story is it's horrific. You try to adjust the numbers, move them, make them look as good as you can. They don't look good. They're just not good. The education numbers are terrible. Reading and math, embarrassingly terrible for the state of Minnesota, which was a beacon to the rest of the states in this country for many, many years. You take all of that, but then anecdotally, and what you did is so important. Just go out and look. Just walk the streets. Go to Uptown. Uptown is, I used to live in Uptown in that area around the
Mhm.
lakes, and it is a shell of itself. Still, you know, colloquially said, boarded up,
Yeah.
and it's businesses have gone out of business. What does that do? That causes people to be unemployed. That causes people to be reliant on the government. But there are fewer people paying into the government because there's more unemployed. And you're just absolutely right about what the economic engine is. It is business. That's what it is. And
Yes.
we need to have a climate that is favorable, not unfavorable.
That is exactly it's exactly true, Andy. And that was how we got to looking at what we looked at. It was okay just to think of how if you believe if you believe that business is the economic engine of a market, then you look at, okay, what does it take? What does it take to recruit business investment in a market? Okay, to bring it in from elsewhere or get it started here versus elsewhere. And the kinds of things that they look at. Number one, they want to know, where is it on the kind of business friendly metric. Is this friendly for business? Is this a place that encourages business growth, that looks to bring in new business, to employ people and improve the economy of a given marketplace, or not? So that gets a lot to regulatory issues. What are tax issues that a new business would run into in the state of Minnesota? So that's business friendly, okay, up or down. And then you look at, is this place safe? Is it safe for my employees, for my family, for their families, right? Um, and then education comes into this. So they want to know how the schools are going to perform, because their workers are going to want to know how the schools perform, and they're going to want to figure out where to put their kids in school for the best outcomes. It's also relevant for the employees themselves seeking advanced degrees, right? Um, and uh, the data points around the demographics. Okay. And we had a few minutes in our hour dedicated to a conversation with the state demographer that just shows very plainly we are at a inflection point, and business cares about this, because the inflection point is we now have more people who are seniors than in grade school. Okay, that has never been true in the state
Wow.
of Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's never been true before. This happens. It is a natural occurring thing that can happen. It can also be influenced, right, by becoming a magnet for growth, right? That can influence, bring people in here. So a business will look at the demographics of a market in part as a litmus test, part of the litmus test they're doing, to see, now, is this a place? Do I have to find and recruit people to come to this place to work for us? Or do I have a real bounty of people coming into the worker marketplace that we be able to select from? That's just another part of the equation, right? So you got all of these elements: crime, education, demographics, um, and the friendly. It gets into, how is this place being run, right? And obviously in our documentary, we ended up honing in on the work of the Democratic Socialists of America in our government, which I didn't even know was a thing when I started on this. I just want to tell you, I like to think of myself as somebody who stays up on these things, but I
Yeah.
really wasn't a close follower of what was happening in the city council. I was not. And I'm going to tell you a very fast story here. Somebody gave me, it was a business person who just gave me this thing. This thing was the DSA, right? And this is actually my iPod case, but whatever. They gave me this thing and they said, you're not going to be able to tell this story without talking about this thing. And I pick it up and I'm looking at it, and I just, like, what? This is going to make it political. and
Yeah.
I don't, that's just going to be noise pollution. I don't want to go after things that just make it look political and discount everything else. I'm going to put that down. And that was at about this, that first came to me in like month 3 of my 2-year work. Okay. And then about month 8, it comes at me again. Okay. I'm more intrigued now because I can start to see it, and I actually see how it relates to schools, and I actually see how it relates to crime, and I actually see how it relates to business growth or anti-growth, right?
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
still like, gosh, I just don't want to go there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd say shortly after about the year mark, it's like, no, you cannot honestly talk about what's going on without talking about this reality.
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing for me to get over. But at the end of the day, there's no there's no legitimacy to ignoring it.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. We're talking to Rick Kupchella, the executive producer of documentary Precarious State. Go to precarioustate.com, precarioustate.com for the approximately 1 hour documentary. It is absolutely eye opening. It is critical if you care about the city of Minneapolis, the state of Minnesota, whether you live in the city or not. It is critical that you go precarioustate.com and watch this documentary. It is, as I say, eye opening. You can also go to the andrewparkershow.com and click on resources and get it there very quickly. Uh, Rick, once you had decided to do this, once you had decided, the Democratic Socialists of America, you can't really do this story, even though I would like to, without bringing it up. So I have to bring it up. Um, is it just the basic conclusion that socialist ideology, as is being pressed by the DSA members of the city council, is an ideology that results in the sorts of outcomes that you found when you were putting together the documentary?
Yeah. I mean, it is. This is not, and it's pretty consistent. Okay, I mean, their platform, which can be found at precariousstate.com, also their platform is super clear. They also did something really wild. So I've been looking at that platform. I mean, for the whole 2 years I've been working on this, very familiar with it. Okay, very familiar. And just before we put it up on our site, just before the doc went live, that platform came down, got edited substantially, and put back up. And basically, they took out all the most inflammatory stuff, is what I would say. Okay. So, this group advances the idea of they want to promote the release of all incarcerated people. That's their language. All incarcerated people. And you think about it, you're like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Um, and they want to close all jails. Okay, they want to close all jails. Now, just think about this for a minute. What are you advocating, right? They want to take guns away from police officers. They should not be armed in this country. Um, they,
This at its core, Rick, what this is a platform of anarchy, of revolution, revolution, not a shift or change or policy movement, revolution at its core, and it has reached the halls of city councils in various places around the country,
Mhm.
but it also has reached the halls of Congress in certain respects. Not enormous, but it's growing. And
Mhm.
it is alarming. And that's why Precarious State is, at the forefront of reporting on this.
It is. It's shocking to see this kind of thing happening, and frankly, it's shocking to see them quietly reword it
Yeah.
as really Mom Donnie is getting to quite the plateau here.
Yeah.
All indicators are at the moment that he could really win this race.
Likely
um,
will.
yeah, that is certainly what it looks like at this moment in time. And I think, again, the public doesn't really know, and it's like they try to, and they're literally trying to soften their language in real time as they go into this. Now, I want to make clear the point also. It's not like they had a big epiphany. It's
Yeah.
not like they called a meeting and everybody thought, "Wow, this is really too out of line for anybody, rational. We need to just redo this platform of ours." They didn't do that. There's no announcement made that says, "Hey, we're throttling back by 40% of what we were before." No. So there's no reason to believe that other stuff isn't still real. They're just talking about it differently. That's all. And what we've done at Precarious State is we've put up online the the one that had been there all the last several years, right?
Yeah.
We've highlighted it to help people, see where things are in that multi-page document quickly, and then we say, here's the new one, and
Fantastic.
you know view it for yourself. I mean, but that's a it's really something folks should understand it. And frankly, the DSA should acknowledge and talk about what they're doing. Why did you change all these incendiary words just overnight?
Yeah.
Why?
No
How that?
question. Uh, Rick, a couple of things. One, give us the teaser on Precarious State. If you go to it, what are you going to see? Why should you go to it? And then, secondly, what has the reaction been to? I mean, it's been a bit of a firestorm, quite frankly, at least at
Mhm.
in certain places.
Yeah.
Speak to what the reaction has been to.
Yeah, I would say honestly, and I'm double checking myself with colleagues inside and outside the group, but I would say the overwhelming response to this publicly is positive. When I say overwhelmingly, I mean like easily three quarters. And I'm reading as much as I possibly can on it. That's a lot, by the way, that's
Yeah.
out there on this thing right now, and and there is a good quarter of it, I think, that is they're attacking, right?
Yeah.
Which I never thought I was going to get a free pass on this thing, right? I mean, particularly once the decision was made to own up to the fact that this has a lot to do with what's being done by the DSA,
Yeah.
and so I'm not surprised by any of that. It is always um, you know this is I thank God that I've had the kind of training I've had over time to be prepared for all of this kind of thing. Because I mean, I give you a quick example. In the old KARE days, we did a big piece on understanding public schools and just the how things were changing as and we we put it out there over 5 nights back in the day. That's what we did, every night for 5 nights, right? And it never happens anymore. Um,
Never.
but I walked into the newsroom, the phones were all lit up, and they had people taking care of a lot of that stuff, but I would join in, and I picked up 2 calls that night. I picked up one, and it was a family in a Tony suburbs, like, oh my God, I'm so glad I saw this thing. I had no idea. There's no way in hell I would put one of my kids in the Minneapolis public school system.
Yeah.
I pick up the next one,
Yeah.
and it's the commissioner of education who says that was the best told story of what we are dealing with as a organization here in the Department of Education. And how can we get individual copies of this to share with people to help them understand the challenges we're facing.
Wow.
That kind of thing happened all the time in news. You'd put one thing up. It looks like this, you can describe this, you
Yeah.
can talk about this,
Yeah.
and somebody says this is a square black box, and
Yeah.
somebody else says, no, it's a vertical glass.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy, but that's how it goes.
Well, it is, and with Precarious State, it is an important story. It's a critical story, really, for the state of Minnesota. It is, it's not called Precarious City. It's called Precarious State for a reason. City of Minneapolis is the driver, the engine for the state of Minnesota in many, many respects. Not entirely, but in many, many respects. And this documentary tells the story of what the city is facing. Now, I live and work in the city, and I know from what it speaks, this documentary, and it is real. Every night, even every day, the sirens are, 2, 3 an hour. And it just didn't used to be that way. And it is it certainly is today. And the reaction and the response to Precarious State, 75% really thank God and thanking Rick Kupchella for the work that he did. Uh, Hopefully, it'll make a difference in not just the election, but in how we try to take back our city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rick, thank you so much for joining us on the Andrew Parker Show. It has been a real pleasure. Rick Kupchella, the executive producer of Precarious State. Go to precarioustate.com. Watch this documentary. Very, very important. And make sure to get out and vote if you are able to in the city of Minneapolis, because you carry with you, you're a resident of the city. Get out and vote a week from Tuesday. That's November 4th, and make your voice heard. Go to the AndrewParkerShow.com. Go to resources. You can find Precarious State, and go to PrecariousState.com. But also subscribe, follow us, like what you're hearing. We'll get your email, and we'll send you each episode as they come out. Rick, thank you so much for joining us.
Andrew, really appreciate the opportunity and the time and the focus on this issue. It's important right now.
It absolutely is. Thank you for your great work. And until next time, be kind to your neighbor. For more Smart Plain Talk, go to theandrewparkershow.com. Learn about all of your listening and viewing options. And remember, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, hope. This episode of The Andrew Parker Show is sponsored by Parker Daniels Keyboard and True North Private Investments.
Did your employer make you sign a promissory note when joining the company, and now you want to leave, but you're afraid your firm will pursue you personally for that debt? This is Jesse Keyboard from the law firm Parker Daniels Keyboard. I recently represented a client who had signed such a note, and I was able to get them out of their $500,000 debt to their company, which allowed them the freedom to exit a bad employment situation and enter a much better one. Meeting our clients' objectives is our focus at Parker Daniels Keyboard, and in this regard, we win. Our experienced trial team of lawyers at Parker Daniels Keyboard have secured major victories in state and federal courts across the country and through arbitration. We have the legal expertise in all types of business disputes, labor and employment matters, real estate matters, shareholder disputes, financial transactions, security issues, and appeals. For wise counsel, winning results, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard, a premier litigation law firm that provides efficient, aggressive, and innovative solutions to complex legal problems. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com.
Looking to reduce your tax liability and grow your portfolio? Consider Texas-based Texacoma Resources. They have been delivering results for over 40 years in energy investments. Investors may benefit with strategic advantages like depreciation, depletion, and drilling, but should consult their tax advisors for their specific situation. Call True North Investment at 612-968-3442 to learn more. That's True North Investment, 612-968-3442. Texacoma Energy that works for you.